everybody, and welcome back to the Creative Life Studios. We're going to be starting today's Bible journaling project like we do most of them here on this channel with a coat of Clear Gesso in our journaling Bible. If you've ever wondered what kind of Clear Gesso is best, I'll link down below. I did a 2 or 3 part series just testing out 5 of the most popular Clear Gessos on the market. Just testing them out with different mediums to see which one would work best. This one in particular happened to be the one that won overall when it came to usability and price and that kind of thing. So I'll link that down below. So I'm just going to go ahead and just give it a quick hit with my heat gun. I just want to make sure that I have a completely dry surface for my next step and that I'm not going to end up smearing anything or doing anything weird. I found a little spot that I had missed, so I'm just using my finger to fill that in real quick. Heat gun, I've had this one forever. It gets well loved. I'm going to be using 4 different colors of paint. So the line I am using for my ephemera is from the Illustrated Faith Print and Pray shop. It's called So Loved. And so that's where I picked my paint colors from. So I'm using like a cadmium orange, a mustard kind of yellow, a pink, and a blue, which sounds kind of weird together, but they seem to work really well. I like them. So I'm just adding some to my paint palette, and then I'm going to be using a technique called scraping, where I'm literally just taking a small amount of paint on the edge of an old hotel room key card and just scraping it across my page. Illustrated Faith founder Shawna Noel uses this technique a lot, and that's how she gets those kind of grungy but bright backgrounds. It's not a technique I've ever really used, but I thought it would be fun since I was using some Illustrated Faith products later that I would kind of play with their technique too. I was originally being very cautious where I was putting it because I didn't want to cover up the verse, and then I actually ended up covering the verse anyway, so I just went with it. And you can see I'm doing some horizontally and some vertically just so I keep that visual interest and keep the eye moving around the page. And what's also great about this technique is you use such a small amount, and with that scraping technique you can still see your words through it. I'm going to go ahead and dry this layer again, just so I don't mess up anything that I've already done when I go towards these next step and try some new stuff. I've dug out the ephemera I wanted to use, and I'm also just adding some splatterings of watered down versions of all of those colors just to add a little bit more visual interest. I'm digging through my stamps now. I have this great little set called A Little Bit Washi from Unity Stamp Company. It's actually designed by a lady named Susan Weckesser, who was one of my very first design teams, so I have a very special place in my heart for her. This block stamp, though, is just, it's kind of like Deckle, I guess you would call it. It's Deckle, Speckle, I don't know, I've had it for a long time. And it's just my way of introducing that black subtly into the background so that the black, whenever I do these kind of washi stamps here in a minute, isn't so stark because there is a little bit of black already in that background. So I'm of course using my Ranger archival ink in jet black, which we all know is my go-to favorite because it's permanent and it's great. It's a good saturated black and I use it all the time. You probably know that already though. So I'm just adding some to the corner and some to the opposite corners of the page. I really kind of didn't have an idea of why I was doing this. I really just wanted to contrast the brightness of the background, but when I got to playing with my ephemera that I had cut out, I noticed it made for really great backgrounds for it, because if I laid them directly on the bright background they were getting very lost, but having those blocks of those black washi tape really just gave something for those bright colors to pop off of. So I was really digging the way that turned out. And so right now I'm just playing with the things that I've cut out. So if you're not familiar with the Print and Pray shop, it's very much, they have, I don't know, like 71 pages of print and pray things, and you basically just, some of it's free, some of it you have to pay for, but you just download it and then you just print it out and cut it and into your shapes and design it however you would like. So right now I'm pretty happy with where I'd put stuff, so I'm just adhering it down. And normally I would never use Clear Gesso as an adhesive, but when I printed these out I was kind of unsure how to print them, what to print them off on. So I printed them off just on plain, like really cheap, like 20-pound copy paper, so they're very thin, and I had some leftover Clear Gesso from when I did the background of this page, and so I didn't want to waste it, so I figured as light as this paper is, excuse me, it'll work just fine to adhere this down. So I'm just doing the normal decoupage where you would put a layer down, put your paper on top, and then add a layer on top. So I've got my pieces all glued down, just kind of giving it another hit with that heat gun. I like to do that in between layers just so, again, so I don't mess up anything that I like whenever I lay another layer of something down. So I'm playing with this title, thinking I need it or I want it, but then I'm just like, maybe not, maybe I don't like it. So while I'm thinking about my title and kind of how I want this page to go, I'm just going to take my Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen in black. And this is one of my favorite easy techniques for getting just some dimension into your project. I'm just taking it and rubbing it along the edges of my stickers that I laid down, or I guess my ephemera that I laid down, and then just swiping over it gently with my finger. That disguises those sharp edges a little bit and gives it a shadow and gives it a pop without being really harsh and really drastic. So I finally decided what I wanted to do. I decided I wanted to figure out a way to connect that top piece to that bottom piece. And I decided I was just going to grab a mechanical pencil and just kind of roughly sketch out kind of, I guess it would be like a twirly arrow, I guess. I don't know. Let's call it a twirly arrow. And so I wanted to be able to connect those two pieces of ideas together. Because we are using the scripture in John 15. Right now I'm just going to go ahead and fill in my arrow with that same pen. But I want to read the scripture. We're using the scripture, John 15, 12 through 13 said, "My command is this, love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friend." And I wanted to use that arrow to connect those two ideas. So the top part says you are loved and the bottom one says love each other. I'm just adding some lines to the outside just to give it some movement. And now I'm just going to add some white dots to it just to kind of tone down the starkness of the black. But I wanted to use that arrow to connect the idea that you are loved, and therefore if we are loved, then we should love each other. And so that's kind of what that arrow is representing, of connecting those two ideas about how that scripture says about loving one another. And so now I'm going to take my same brush from earlier and water down some white paint. And again, just add some little flicks of white just to kind of break up any of that big chunks of paint. And I'm also going to add some to my stickers. That's just adding a little bit of detail and just giving it almost like a catch light, just a little dimension, just a little something different so they don't look as flat. And again, it's just that watered down white paint just added directly on there. And I think I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to add a little bit of that also to my arrow to kind of tone that black down a little bit. Alright, the last thing I have to do is add that date to my project so I know when I did it and what I was thinking about. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Keep subscribing for more videos every Monday and Friday. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.